Gracie Norton has taken the social media world by storm the last couple of years, sharing her personal journey with PCOS and healing her own acne and even delicious healthy recipes that have helped her turn her health around. We chat about Gracie's morning and evening routines, something she's well known for, how she took her hormone health into her own hands, and why you have to be your own health advocate. Tune in because you are not going to want to miss this one. Gracie Norton, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. We actually met on a trip in LA with Clarence, and you came up and spoke to me, and I was like, this girl is the picture of vitality.
Oh my gosh.
Truly, everything about you was glowing. Your skin, your hair, your personality, you can tell, you have so much joy in your life, and it truly radiates. So I can't wait for the audience to hear from you. Thank you for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, the feeling was mutual. As soon as I saw you up there, I was like, I have to go talk to her after and just tell her how much I appreciate you really breaking down, skincare and making it digestible, because that's not an easy thing to do. So,
oh, thank you. And that was a fun trip. Your mom was there.
Oh
she
my
is
gosh.
So much fun.
I
loved her.
So much fun. It was so funny because that night we got back to the hotel, she was like, that was the best night of my life.
Oh my gosh,
it was so sweet. Christina Aguilera is her favorite. For people who don't know, we were on the trip. Christina Aguilera came to perform. It was a whole thing.
That was so amazing.
It was epic. It felt like a dream.
I was so fangirling. I was so excited for that.
I'm so happy that's how we met.
Yeah. I know. Fun story. Okay, so I'd like to start every podcast by asking my guest, what is your first skin or skincare memory?
Yeah, so my grandma actually, she was a QVC fanatic, and so she was always ordering new products. So I remember she would have the TV on, and she'd be like, okay, I'm gonna order this and I'm gonna order that, and then you're gonna come over and we're gonna put it on together. So she had this drawer, it was kind of next to her nightstand, and it was just full of all these different products. And so it was my favorite thing to go over there, and I would pull out the drawer and I would just start putting everything you can imagine on my face. But that's probably my first skincare memory, because funny enough, my mom really wasn't super into skincare, so it was always with my grandma. And I would go to her vanity, I put the skincare on, and that was kind of how I fell in love with makeup and beauty and skincare in general.
So apparently before TikTok, there was QVC to influence us to buy skincare.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it was like our little movie. We would sit there and she'd be like, okay, what do you want? And we would order all this
so
skincare.
Fun. What a nice memory.
Yeah.
So you've had your own skin health journey that you've been incredibly open about on social media. Can you walk us through what your journey has been like and how did you get here?
Of course, yeah. So I was diagnosed with PCOS, but before my diagnosis, I went through a lot of trial and error. I had a hormone imbalance condition, and I wasn't having a period. So that was the first sign, the fact that I hadn't had a period in about 3 months. And it took me 3 months of not having a period to be like, okay, wake up call, I need to do something about this. And it kind of felt like all my symptoms hit me at once, right? I had gained 30 pounds in 3 months. I was struggling with hormonal acne all along my jawline, behind my ear, onto my neck. I was on camera as well, so it really did start to impact just my confidence. And aside from that, my hair was thinning. I was losing some hair up along my hairline. Pretty much every symptom you can imagine. Was bloating after every single thing that I ate, and I just felt like a stranger in my own body. And I know dealing with acne is just it's not a good feeling, when you look in the mirror and don't recognize the person looking back at you. And not even to make it physical, I just did not feel like myself. So I decided to do something about it, and like I said, I went through a lot of trial and error. I went to a lot of the wrong doctors, made a lot of the wrong changes, unfortunately, but fortunately I learned through that process and found the right doctor, and I got my blood work done and kind of was able to make lifestyle changes and changes in my nutrition and my fitness and lower my stress levels. And yeah, now I've been very regular. Hormones are balanced, and my main goal is to share this experience with other women, because when I was diagnosed, there weren't a lot of people speaking about it on social media. So I made one video, and I just thought, okay, see if there's anybody else out there that could potentially be going through the same thing. And sure enough, the comments were flooded with women who were also struggling with these symptoms. So I think it's very common, but I don't think enough people talk about it. And yeah, here I am. I feel honestly the best that I've ever felt. I feel so in tune with my body. I live life in balance. I have fun. My nutrition is 80-20 now, so I have a little bit of everything. I don't feel restricted, and yeah, everything feels really good.
And how long did it take you to get a diagnosis from the time you had symptoms? And did you suspect that it was PCOS, or were you really floored by that diagnosis?
Oh, I didn't even know what PCOS was. So I was definitely floored. I cried when the doctor told me that that's what it was. But yeah, it took about a year of trial and error before I got my diagnosis. So it was kind of a lengthy process, unfortunately, and I'll never forget when my doctor told me, and I just like went home and ordered books on PCOS and just tried to educate myself because I knew that I didn't want to go back on birth control. I was on birth control for 2 years in high school, and then I decided to get off, and it just made me a different person. So I knew that's not, that wasn't the option that I wanted to take. And then also, medications like metformin and spironolactone, which definitely have their place and can be very beneficial for people that, decide to go that route. But yeah, long story short, I decided, not to go that route. And then about a year later was able to get down to the diagnosis and really build a plan to help heal from the inside out.
And I know you've been open about seeing a functional medicine physician. Did you do any of these changes on your own before you saw him, or was he the one who kind of opened your eyes to the nutrition and the lifestyle changes, or the books you were reading, were those helpful? How did you kind of come across this whole alternative way to treat your PCOS?
Yeah, of course. So, I grew up with a relatively healthy family. So we were very active, but we never really prioritized nutrition. Like, I always joke with my mom because we would wake up in the morning and have like Pop-Tarts and waffles. Like, nutrition was just kind of like quick and easy, and we did move. We had a lot of movement as a family, but nutrition was never top of mind. So it wasn't something that I naturally, it wasn't like a fruit plate for dessert. That was not the case in my house. But anyways, I learned a lot from him because he was the first doctor that sat me down and was like, went through, just honestly just listened to me talk about my symptoms. All these other doctors didn't even take the time to really hear, what I was going through. And then when he talked about, food being medicine, and like, here's how we're going to change your nutrition. You're going to swap your smoothie for a high protein breakfast, and like, here's why. And, instead of decreasing your portion sizes, you can still eat a regular amount of food. Instead of working out twice a day, we're going to focus on low impact exercise. So he was the one that really helped me map out this plan to help me feel confident to heal. But prior to that, I was, when your body's changing like that, well, at least this is what I did. I, was working out twice a day, super high impact exercises, was eating, smoothies or having smoothies in the morning, not really focusing on protein, and was just trying to consume less food. And I was just doing all the wrong things, unfortunately. But he was the first person that really helped me realize how beneficial it can be to heal from the inside out.
And was it hard for you to make those changes? Because I think like we're from a generation where more is more, so more exercise is better. Like you don't think that less could possibly be beneficial. Was it hard, or were you like, okay, finally someone gave me the answers?
I think it was like I had this moment of relief where I was like, okay, like this sounds like I'm gonna have to change a lot, but I was honestly excited because it was the first time that I felt like somebody really was building a plan that was like promising. I would say the hardest change for me to make. So for nutrition, I removed gluten, dairy, and refined sugar. Cut back on refined sugar, didn't remove it completely, and then caffeine and alcohol.
Wow, so
a lot. Yeah, it was a lot of changes. So initially that was hard for me, but then that's when I started experimenting with just making these fun recipes. And when I realized how delicious food can still be without gluten, dairy, and refined sugar, I was like, wait, I can actually do this. And it was kind of a mindset shift because I'm like, a lot of people think that these things are going to take away from your life, like the changes in nutrition or the exercise, like, oh, I can't believe I have to like, adjust all of these things. But it gives you so much freedom. At least it gave me a lot of freedom. So I changed my mindset, and it was the best decision, that I made. So, but I think if you go into it with that mindset of thinking that it's going to take away from your life and it's going to be overwhelming, then it probably will be. So you have to approach it in a different way. But yeah, we were told that more is more. Same thing with the exercising. That was easy because it was less work, right? So I went from 2 high impact workouts a day to really low impact movement. So incline walking, 12-3-30. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah, I have.
I love 12-3-30. Hot yoga, long walks, stretching, and then a little bit of strength training. And then, those lifestyle changes was like acupuncture and lymphatic drainage massages. These are all things that I learned over time. It sounds like a lot up front. But no, I think mindset's everything when you know that you have to make changes.
And I can already tell, like, that's just the kind of personality you are, because the first thing you did was go and order these books. Like, you have a very proactive mindset, which a lot of people don't have, and that's amazing, because it helps you look at challenges in a way that you can be proactive and actually see them head on and make those impactful changes. But what do you think has been, like, if you had to pick maybe like 3 to 5 things, or maybe even less, that have been the most impactful on your journey, what would you say they would be?
Yeah, of course. So for nutrition, I would say the most impactful, I'm going to have to do 2 things for nutrition. It would be having a high protein breakfast. This helped with my insulin resistance. We spoke about this not too long ago. It's incredible. I mean, I'll drink bone broth in the morning. I'll do like chicken sausage or red meat. A lot of people think my breakfasts are really weird, but it works for me. So that was one of the most impactful changes. And then the other impactful change was refined sugar. And this is something that really helped with my acne. I kid you not. I did 1 week of absolutely no refined sugar, and the difference that I saw just in my inflammation and my skin was insane. So after that week, I was like, okay, that was really tough. I'm going to consume like maybe under 10 grams, which is still really hard. But yeah, I really reduced that refined sugar, and that helped so much. And then when it comes to exercise, like I said, switching to low-impact workout, that was key for me, because a lot of people think that you need to be burning so many calories, you need to be exhausting your body. And then, you know, when I got my period back, I would say cycle syncing is another thing that really just helped me learn about my body as a woman, and just knowing that our body's going to fluctuate and we're going to feel differently throughout the month. It almost took away that mystery for me of, why am I feeling this way? You know, during my luteal phase, I spoke to you about this too. I'm bloated, I'm a little bit more irritable, my skin is not as glowy as usual, I'm a little bit more inflamed. And so I think just understanding that, it allows me to even just like change my plans or just be kinder to myself during that time.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. I think it helps you not be so hard on yourself, because you're like, you know, why am I so tired? I slept. I shouldn't be so tired. I should have all this motivation. And when you start to understand how your hormones can affect your mood and your body in so many ways, you start to be a little bit easier on yourself and understand that this too shall pass. It's just a short phase.
Exactly.
And you'll move on to the next one.
Also, our bodies are incredible. Like, it's something that should be celebrated, you know, like the way that a woman's body can change her hormones, like they're so powerful. And I think it's something to be celebrated and not something that is like, oh, that's just another thing I have to do. Like, it's so cool that we get to learn about these things, and it's so cool how our bodies can evolve and change. So
that's so true too. And I think as women, we really do like live in a man's world, so we're expected to act the same way in many ways. And that's a really great point, like actually celebrating those differences rather than trying to fit a mold that wasn't really meant for us.
100%. Yeah, I mean, they operate on a circadian rhythm. We have circadian and infradian, and this is something that I experienced firsthand when I lived in LA. I was working with a big group of men. They were going to bed at different times, you know, every single night up till 3 a.m., eating dinner sometimes at like midnight, you know, and I just thought, well, this is normal. They're doing it. If they can do it, I can do it. And not the case for me. So I learned that one firsthand, how different our bodies operate.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're doing your cycle syncing, what are like some little things you do? Like, is it your diet, your exercise, both? How do you sync your lifestyle to your cycle? Yeah,
it's a little bit of both. So when I first started, because I feel like it can be a little bit overwhelming when you first get into it. It is very overwhelming. Exercise is something that I synced first. And this will just be, I'll change my impact during each phase. So during my menstrual phase, I'm not going to be doing my interval runs or really high impact workouts. It'll be a lot of stretching, maybe some hot yoga, walking. So nothing that's going to put a lot of stress on my body. And I do want to preface this by saying that every woman's going to feel different during each phase of your cycle. So really get in tune with your body and see what's best for you. And then during my follicular phase, I'll pick up the impact a little bit. So maybe I'll add in a little bit of jogging. I'll do my dumbbell strength training, resistance bands, and then I feel my best during ovulation. So this is when I have the most energy. This is when I'm going to do, my HIIT workout. It's when I'm going to do my interval runs. And then during my luteal phase, I mentioned this, but this is when my body does not feel its best. The beginning is okay, and then that week leading up to my period is the absolute worst. And it's unfortunate because the luteal phase is our longest phase. So I'm like, great. But yeah, so I'll, do moderate impact workouts, and then a week leading up to my period, I'm really tapering off just because my body doesn't feel so great. Yeah. So that's kind of how I cycle synced my workouts. And then when it comes to nutrition, I really prioritize getting in, my omega-3s and iron right before I start my period. So that's like the first place to start, I think, if you're new to it, just because we're losing a little iron right before we start a menstrual cycle. So there's so many different things that you can change in your nutrition. And the best guide that I have found is In the Flow by Alyssa V.
Yeah, I love that book.
She breaks down, the nutrition aspect. And I have her little grocery list like taped to my fridge. And I'll take that with me when I go grocery shopping. And yeah.
That's a great tip. So if you're in one of these cycles, let's say you're in your ovulatory phase and you just have a day where you're not feeling it, will you push yourself to do the workouts that are meant for ovulatory, or do you kind of listen to your body and kind of dial down if you still feel like you need to? Or do you find that you pretty much are spot on to what the phases are?
Oh, no. I mean, I listen to my body. If I'm not feeling it, I'll change up the workout and do a stretch and then hop in the sauna. Like I'm not going to push my body if I'm cramping or if I'm just like not feeling like myself. Yeah.
Is there anything from the beginning of this process that you feel like no longer serves you, that you no longer do?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, so I did get acupuncture, and I think that's one of the things that helped stimulate my ovaries and start my period, and that's not a practice that I do anymore. But no, I would say a lot of the changes that I implemented, like they have taught me so much about my body, and I'm pretty consistent with everything that I implemented from day one. There's a lot more flexibility now in my nutrition, and I would say that's probably the biggest change. And there's just a lot more balance now. Like I'll have gluten, I'll have dairy, I'll have sugar, and I don't really notice any changes in my body, but it's very balanced. So I would say, and I never felt restricted, but I would say that, really cutting everything out isn't something that I am focused on anymore. Yeah.
Is there anything you would do differently if you could go back to that time? Or do you feel like you did the best with the information that you had?
Yeah, I think that trial and error process was pretty tough. I think I wish I would have given myself a little bit more grace during that time, because I just so badly wanted to get to the end result. So if I could go back, I would have, told myself to be patient and to know that when you're healing from the inside out, this is something that just takes a little bit longer, and that there's not going to be a Band-Aid solution that's going to make me feel, some Band-Aid solutions can make you feel better in the moment, but that's not something that I wanted. So I think I would change, the mindset. Yeah.
And what made you decide? You said that you knew from the beginning that these medications weren't for you. I think that it takes someone very strong to sit there in front of multiple physicians and say, like, no, I'm not going to go that path. How did you know at such a young age that you didn't want to do that?
Yeah, because I think for me, at some point I'm like, well, I'm not going to be on these medications for my entire life. And I just didn't want to have to depend on them, right? And then, let's just use spironolactone as an example for clear skin. I think my main concern was like, okay, when I get off, what is my skin gonna do?
Right.
And so I think that was the main concern for me, was just I wanted to find the root cause, and I wanted to be able to get back to a place where I can enjoy life. And I tell people this is my favorite part of the journey, the fact that like I can have balance now, and that my body's regulated and that my period's regular. Like, yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me.
Your social media is incredible. Like you said, you share so many amazing recipes, like so many tips and tricks for women. Do you ever get hate when you stray from like you're very open about being 80-20, but do you ever get hate from people when you stray from your, I guess, nutrition or exercise values?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Even when I share what I eat in a days, because most of the time I still do follow, I don't want to say that regimen. Most of the time I'm still eating gluten, dairy, and refined sugar free. But people will complain about my portion sizes. Like, I can't believe how much food you eat. This is crazy. Like, do you finish all that? So even if you are eating healthy, people are going to say stuff. But yeah, if I show ice cream or dairy or gluten, I mean, people get a little upset.
That's so funny.
I don't know. I just think there's a lot of fear mongering in this space right now. And so when I see those comments, like they used to kind of like stop me in my tracks. But now it's just like, I know my body. I know what makes me feel my best. And I think people need to focus on what makes them feel their best and not other people. But I'm sure that you get those things all the time. But people don't like that when you stray from things. But our bodies evolve. My body is different now than what it was when I was first diagnosed, and what's serving it now is different than what was serving it then.
Right. And most of our food is meant to nourish us, right? But food is also joy. So if that means going out to ice cream with your boyfriend or something, like that is also a very important part of life.
100%. Yeah.
So
and I never really feel like it stripped me of joy when I first made the changes, because like I said, I'll use ice cream as an example. Like, well, instead of being like, oh, I can't have ice cream, like, okay, I'm gonna make this ice cream with bananas or a sweet potato. I'm like, actually, this tastes pretty good. So I think it's all mindset. But now that I can enjoy it and I am not bloating for days on end, like, that's freaking awesome. Of course I'm gonna have the ice cream.
You're gonna take advantage.
Yeah,
and do you ever see the opposite side where people think that your diet is too extreme? Or do you think most of your audience is already like tuned into that?
Yeah, I think some people have the approach that I mentioned earlier of just like, oh, this is so much work. This is so exhausting. I'm like, this is like brought so much abundance into my life. This is great. So it's literally all the way that you look at it. And I know I have some friends who have made changes and they'll go out to eat and their friends are like, oh my gosh, she's gluten-free, she's dairy-free. Like we're going to have to go to a place that has, a menu that can fit all of these modifications and all this stuff. And it's like, then you have the wrong friends. And anybody who thinks it's a headache, like, this is our body. We get one body. Fuel it the way you want to, move it the way you want to. I think people need to be more concerned about themselves and not worried about if somebody else wants to change their nutrition and do what makes them feel good. So
I remember when my daughter turned 1, I shared like the birthday cake I made her, and it was like a banana, oats, milk, and then blended and basically baked, and then the frosting was just plain Greek yogurt. And I got so much hate for imposing my diet culture on my baby. And all I could think is like, how sad that we live in a world that eating real whole food is considered diet culture. Like, it's how crazy. About we're just nourishing our 1-year-old? She's never had sugar. She doesn't want sugar. Like, it's just so backwards to me sometimes. Like, in a nation where like chronic disease is so high, how can you be so blinded to a comment like that? But there are people like that who really don't understand. And I think a lot of it comes from like probably some like self-shame, and they project it on other people. But I got so much hate for that post, and I was not expecting it. I was like, I'm just sharing the birthday cake I made my daughter.
I think people are going to have an opinion about every single thing at the end of the day. For some people, you can't win either way. So I think you got to do what you want to do what makes you feel good, and leave it at that.
Yes. So we're going to switch gears in a minute, but before we wrap up on this topic, what are like 1 to 2 things, if someone is in the thick of what you are going through, that they can do tangibly? Maybe if they're listening to this and thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of changes, I don't know if I'm ready for all that. What's like 1 to 2 things you would recommend starting with?
Yeah, so again, everybody is different, but for me, a high protein breakfast, that's something you can change right now. So if you're somebody that's having a smoothie first thing in the morning, that could potentially be spiking, your insulin, and I think switching to that high protein, that's helped with my cravings a lot. So that's one change. I love my beef bone broth in the morning. I'll have red meat or some type of chicken sausage, and like I feel so nourished immediately in the morning, and it keeps me from snacking. So that's one amazing change that you can make. And then another one is lymphatic drainage massages. I absolutely love these. If you're somebody who struggles with water retention or inflammation, there's massages you can do by yourself at home. There's also experts that you can go and see for massages, but this is one of those things that gave me a lot of relief right at the beginning of my journey, and it's something you can literally implement today. I have tutorials on my page, and I also love Rebecca Faria. She has a ton of incredible tutorials. And I'll put on my face oil, and I'll massage my lymph nodes, and I'll do it on my face, my stomach, my legs. And one habit that really just helped with my inflammation.
I love that for stress too, because we actually talked about this on that clearance trip, but our skin has receptors that will then send back to the brain whether or not we're stressed. So if we're stressed, our brain sends signals to the skin saying we're stressed, and then the skin says back, oh my God, we're stressed, and it's like this feedback loop. So whatever we can do to kind of calm down, and I love doing lymphatic drainage, I love doing facial massage. I think it does help to temporarily depuff the skin. There are so many experts who will say, oh, but it's your fluid's just going to build right back up. I'm like, yeah, but that's not the point. You're moving that lymph around. I think it's so good for the body, so good for the face. It gives you that temporary improvement. And I just think anytime you're increasing blood flow and lymph flow, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, yes. It's a great thing.
Like you wouldn't tell someone not to work out because they're moving their blood and their lymph. It's I think it's great. So what do you do this morning or night?
Morning.
Okay.
Yeah, because generally that's when my face is,
that's when you want the benefit the
puffy.
most.
Yeah, so I'll wake up and I'll do that in the morning, and then I'll do the stomach massage kind of as needed. So if I'm feeling really bloated or want to induce a bowel movement, I'll do that massage as well. And then sometimes when I travel, I notice that my legs will get pretty puffy, so I'll put them up the wall and do that massage. But these are just little tips and tricks, like I said, that you can implement kind of right away if you're if you want to start somewhere easy.
Yeah. And do you use a paddle or anything on the body, or do you just use your hands?
Just use my hands.
I love that.
I think your hands are so effective.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. I think
don't need to buy a fancy tool.
I always say that when I share these videos. I'm like, you just need your fingers and some moisturizer or face oil, and you're good to go.
And one thing I love about lymphatic drainage massage that I think some people think they have to go buy a fancy oil. Like, I always get, what oil should I buy for this? I'm like, use what you already. I do it when I'm cleansing my face.
You
can
do it with anything.
You can do anything that gives a little bit of slip underneath your fingers. You can use. Yeah. So, what does the rest of your morning routine look like? I know you're big on routines.
Yeah.
I love hearing people's routines, so I want to hear what yours are.
Yes. Well, I'll wake up and I'll start with my oral care. So I'll tongue scrape. I'll brush my teeth, floss. Sometimes I'll oil pull if I have time, because you have to do it for like 10 to 15 minutes. So that's not something that I do every single morning. That's also help with whitening my teeth. But so when I have
do you
time,
really feel like it's whitened your teeth?
I do.
Because people always say that, and I wonder like how much, because sometimes there's things that one person says it and then people just believe it. I'm always curious from someone who does it if you think it does.
Yeah, I do think it's helped.
Good to know.
So I'll do my oral care. And then after that, I'll drink my bone broth, and I'll usually do that where I'm like checking emails, or I'll go and get some natural sun. And I have this balcony that's I live in an apartment, and so I'll go out there and I'll stand out there and drink my bone broth and let the sun kind of like hit my face. And then after that, I will make my breakfast. I'll do some type of really high protein breakfast. It's funny because I probably should do skincare sooner, but I don't really do my skincare until before I do my makeup. So yeah, I'll do that. And then sometimes lymphatic drainage massage if I have time. Skincare. I do a vitamin C. Dr. Dennis
tell
Gross.
me. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so like that's my main form of skincare. And then I'll do my SPF under my foundation.
What sunscreen?
So I love the COSIS Dream Beam.
Yeah, that's an amazing one.
Do you like that one?
I love that one.
Good.
Like the light reflection it gives your skin is like so good.
Yeah, so I'll put that one under my makeup. And then I also like the Ulta MD tinted sunscreen as well. So put that on, and then I'll do my makeup and get in some form of movement first thing in the morning. So whether this is, depending on how I'm feeling, a Pilates class or HIIT workout, whatever that may be. So that's kind of the quick-ish morning routine. If I have more time on weekends, I'm getting the red light mask. Like everything's happening,
All the things.
Yeah.
And then what about nighttime? What's your night routine?
Yeah, I love a good wind-down routine, because if you're somebody that's struggled with stress, this is like key. My mind is super busy at night. I used to feel so exhausted throughout the day, and then I would lay my head on my pillow and I couldn't fall asleep to save my life. So, and when I learned, how to really reduce stress, it was huge for me. So I love breath work. I use the Open app. If I can just do like 2 minutes of breath work, it's great. I think we go through a whole day without taking taking one deep breath.
So true.
It's insane.
Unless my Apple Watch reminds me.
Yeah, it's like breathe. Okay. So I'll do that. And then I love to drink magnesium. So I'll have, magnesium before bed. That's probably, one of my favorite supplements in terms of just like helping manage stress and being able to wind down and get a full night's sleep. I just started mouth taping, so I'll keep you updated. I love it so far. Absolutely love it so far. I feel like I rediscovered sleep. So I was tracking my sleep on my Oura Ring, and I've noticed that my HRV is already improved. So I'll have to send you screenshots of like the stats over time. But one of my friends is actually coming out with a mouth tape that's skincare infused.
Oh, so that's so smart.
Is actually beneficial for your skin.
Are you testing it? You've been testing it?
Yeah. The one that I'm taking isn't the skincare one, but I'm going to purchase it as soon as it comes out.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, the one I use is from Dream Recovery, and it's great. Like it's made with silk, so you can still breathe through it. Okay. But
sometimes I feel like the adhesive is irritating for my skin when I pull it off, so I'll have to try that brand.
Yes, you should.
That's so interesting. Yeah, how exciting.
Yeah, so magnesium, breath work if I can. I love to have a little something sweet at night, so I'll do like a Sweet Lawrence cookie in the air fryer with some peanut butter. And then I try to limit screen time, and I love low light because I feel like if I have all my lights on, my brain is like too awake. So low light at night, and then I'll crawl into bed and try to get my full 8 hours. I need 8 hours of sleep to feel good.
Yeah, me too. What time do you usually go to bed?
I should be going to bed a lot earlier, but I don't have kids, and my schedule is kind of crazy. So sometimes I'm up later working than what I should be, around like 11 o'clock.
Well, that's my biggest struggle is most of my work is done after my daughter goes to sleep. So then by the time it's time for me to lay down. I'm like, oh, I'll just scroll for a few more minutes. And then I'm so wired. My brain is so on. I can't fall asleep. And then it's tough. I always joke that, like, there's always one ball that kind of gets dropped, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if I'm doing really well in my career and, like, I'm working out and, like, I'm feeling really good with my nutrition, inevitably, like, sleep is, like, so it's, like, there's always something that's not optimal, and right now, for me, it's sleep, unfortunately.
Yeah, you should go and listen to my episode with Todd Anderson. He just does a deep dive on
Is it going to scare me into sleeping?
It's going to scare you,
Okay.
But it is so good. And then the other thing that I missed, too, because we talked about this, was the sauna before bed, and that's the one thing that I feel like has made me fall asleep really quick. So I love a sauna session before bed, too.
I could do sauna, but it flares my melasma. I can't do the hot. Yeah, I used to be such a hot yoga girl. Love like, I'm a freeze baby. I'm cold all the time. So, like, I love anything hot, but I can't do it.
He says hot showers are effective as well. So maybe
I do take a very hot shower.
He says that helps. Relax,
okay, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to listen to that episode. We'll link it below too for anybody who wants to hear it.
Perfect.
So, what is your holy grail skincare product if you could only pick one?
If I could only pick one, I would probably have to say the Dr. Dennis Gross, the vitamin C.
Yeah,
I love it. It's just one of those things, like, it's always on my counter. It's going on my skin every single day. I know an SPF is important and SPF is king, but I love that vitamin C.
Yeah, it's so good.
And then I know you mentioned this too, but it's one of my favorites, the peel pads.
Yeah,
they're
those
great.
Peel pads are next level. Yeah,
and my skin's really sensitive. I've never had, a professional facial outside of the, why do I always blank on the name of this?
Hydrofacial.
Aside from the hydrofacial, and I feel like it's because I was nervous, like, is my skin going to react from a peel? I don't know. And those are super gentle on my skin, and I feel like I really do see a difference.
I have a question for you, and you don't have to answer it if you don't want to, because I know your approach to everything is very natural and nutrition based. Do you think you'll ever do cosmetic procedures down the road, or are you kind of anti them?
I'm not anti-cosmetic procedures at all. I don't think I would ever get filler, just because I don't want to mess with my face, and I already have really full. I already have really full cheeks. And my mom, I just grew up, she always told me, like, God just made you the way that you are.
So sweet.
And I worry about maintaining it, and so I think I just want to let it ride.
See what happens. I love that. You have such a close relationship with your mom, and I have a daughter, and I always ask people who have these kind of relationships, like, what did she do when you were growing up that made you so comfortable with her? Like, what stands out to you? Like, give me tips.
Oh my God, I'm gonna cry talking about this, just because my mom she's the best. But yeah, growing up, she made me feel, like, so confident and that I could accomplish anything, so that was from such a young age. She instilled that in me. She didn't ever make me feel like any dream was too big, or that any obstacle was too big to tackle. So she gave me that when I was younger, and I grew up dancing with her. So, and I know you probably saw her getting down at the concert, and I think that was one of the things too, just like teaching me how to be in tune with my body as a woman. I learned from such a young age with her, and she's always been somebody who's celebrated other women's beauty. So, growing up, it was never like, you wouldn't look at another woman and be jealous. It was, she celebrated everything. And so that made me, so excited when I was younger to, like, form really good friendships and find women that also do the same thing. And she's always surrounded herself with people that are, smart, that are doing amazing things in the world, that are kind. And so I really do think she just completely shaped, my approach to, just confidence in general, and my self-esteem, and just how I believe in myself. She shaped all of that.
I've never thought about that before, but I imagine that must be so impactful. I mean, my mom is an incredible person, but just what you said, like her looking at other women and celebrating it, for a young girl to see in a world where it's so different out there, to see that in your own home, and that is your role model. I've never heard anyone say that before, but I can imagine that would be so impactful on the way you grow up as a young woman.
Oh, 100%. And, she's my best friend. She never made me feel like I couldn't tell her things, because like as you're growing up, there's certain things that you experience as you get older, and you're like, okay, this is not a conversation to have with my mom,
right?
But, like, it was always a conversation to have with my mom, like funny dating stories, or, like, I even brought her into some crazy situations. Like, we have so many fun stories together, but she never made me feel like I couldn't come to her with anything. And she's really, really good at not being biased, and so she's also not afraid to call me out when I'm could be doing better. So she puts everything into perspective, is really good at playing devil's advocate, and yeah, she's the best. My mom is the best.
Yeah, she seems so sweet, and you guys are so cute together. I love your relationship.
Aww.
So last couple questions. What is your most underrated skin tip?
My most underrated skin tip is probably ingestible skincare. I feel like not a lot of people talk about this.
So true.
Hydration's so important. And if you're somebody that doesn't like to drink a lot of water, put some vitamin C in there to give a little flavor. I like one from Symbiotica. Or you can put like fruit cubes in there with cucumber and mint. And then bone broth is something that I feel like has really helped my skin. So I'll drink that in the morning, which we talked about. And then I love colostrum. I feel like it's made a big difference on my skin. And I also take sea moss gummies.
Sea moss. I haven't delved into the world of sea moss yet, but I need to do research on it because I've had a few questions about it.
Yeah, so I feel like that's the most underrated skin tip, because I think a lot of people, like, they just think about, the topicals and the products, but I really do think if you are, drinking more water can solve a variety of skin issues, and focusing on what you're putting into your body.
Okay. And if you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Probably just I believe in you. I think it's so important that whatever you're trying to accomplish in life, or whether it's, you're battling something with your skin or your health, like, you have exactly what you need to accomplish this goal and to get through this. I think there's times where we don't always feel it, and things can feel very permanent, especially if you're in a place where you're struggling with something. But I think believing in yourself and knowing that you have everything that you need to get through it is important.
Goes a long way.
Yeah, and to just like enjoy your life. Our time here is so short, and there's so many things that I think people can look at and say, like, oh, whether you're making changes in your routine or they feel like it's too much, like, be your own person, do what makes you feel good, enjoy life at the same time, don't be too restrictive, and just be yourself.
Yeah, I love that. I really truly believe the purpose of life is joy, to live a joyous life and to enjoy our time here. So I love that you're all about, like, like I said, you're so vibrant. It's just like you're like a whole personality trait. I love it so much.
Thank you.
And what's next? What's next for Gracie Norton?
Yes, so I have an exciting supplement coming out very soon. It's called Night Nectar.
Okay,
it's,
so exciting.
A magnesium supplement. So I'm really, really excited about that. And then you can follow me at Gracie_Norton on TikTok and Instagram. I love sharing recipes,
so
lifestyle
much good content.
tips. Yes,
I love
workouts.
watching you.
Oh,
Your personality comes through so well on the screen too. Like, you're just like everybody's best friend.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
And you have an ebook too, right?
Yes, I have an ebook. So if you're somebody who's just starting and you want a place to find healthy recipes, it's on my Instagram bio. It's called Cooking Up Wellness. And so you can purchase that. It's just a file. You can download it, and you'll have access to some of my favorite recipes.
Amazing.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
For coming.
I feel like we could talk for hours.
I know. We'll have to do this again, and I'll put all your information down below because I'm sure everyone's going to be interested in finding you. So
perfect.
Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye. I picked up so many little tips and tricks from my conversation with Gracie. I can't wait to hear what takeaways you all are going to implement from this episode. Definitely share to your stories and tag both of us, and I'll be sending a couple people a little box of Skin Enthusiast goodies. If you're hungry for more Gracie, definitely check out her podcast Wellness Her Way on Dear Media. I was also a guest on there where we talked all about skincare and changes that you can make to your skincare routine, specifically if you're dealing with acne. And I'll talk to you next week, Skin Enthusiasts.